I guess we didn't play the full intro. Not sure how that happened, but welcome everyone to another episode of the Camper Report. We've got a special guest today. It's CG Ruthless Sports. We've had him on once before. I had him on for a mock draft, I believe it was, back
Yeah.
in early April. So, but he's back again. Promote yourself a little bit, CG, because obviously one of my, when I first started out, you were one of the first people that I saw doing this kind of stuff. So, promote yourself a little bit to people that are watching, maybe that don't know you, which a lot of people that watch 49ers content probably know you already, but just promote yourself a little bit and what you do. And yeah, then we'll get started to 49ers content because we have a lot today.
Yeah. CG Ruthless, probably one of the most realest voice in the community. I'm not some of those content creators that's afraid to speak my mind. If I want to speak up, I'm not going to back down on what I say. So I keep it real with everybody. So follow me on CG Ruthless on YouTube, CG Ruthless 1. But if you guys like TikTok, which I've done really lately, check me out on CG.Ruthless1990, bro. I'm already like getting close to 4K followers, man. So it's been a good vibe, man.
Nice.
But thank you for the invite, and I definitely appreciate it. It was fun the last time when we had the draft talk.
Yeah, it was. If you his Twitter and his YouTube are in the description, so if you want to fast track to those two places, then
I have a TikTok also, man. So you guys will definitely like what I put out there.
Yeah. We already have some people in the chat all day, every day. Kim. Well, of course, they need more receivers. From what I see, Brock needs every freaking good player in the whole league in order to succeed. One guy goes down and he turns into a pumpkin. That's harsh, but maybe true. Follow you TikTok. I'm not sure exactly what she means by that.
Maybe she's
follow you on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting a lot of virals over there in those videos.
Yeah. Okay. I think she means I'm following you on TikTok.
Well, yeah, that's where I kind of have a lot of my fun platform is TikTok. It's a lot of fun. But hey, we got one of our favorite guys, Carcast, fan. That guy's cool.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Go subscribe to his channel. He's another, I think he's a little bit older than me, about 17. I'm pretty sure he's another young 49ers content creator. He is younger. Okay.
Yeah. He's a good kid.
Yeah, so shout out to him. Go subscribe everyone to his channel. But let's get into the first topic of the day. We're going to get to some of, the Jaguars, how they're going to beat them. And then we're going to get into, some other talk. But this is kind of talk that happened a week ago. It's pretty old, but I did want to kind of, because I didn't really cover it last week as much. I wanted to get your thoughts on it, though. The Chase Young trade. Was the Chase Young trade confusing to you? Would it have been better to go get a receiver like Adams or Devontae Adams, since the receiver position looks to be more of a weakness now that Deebo Samuel is dealing with injury issues? I mean, this was something before the season we were thinking it's one of our deepest positions, and I still think it is if we use all of our weapons. I mean, you have Ronnie Bell, who in that Giants game, he looked good. So, like, why don't we use him? But we've seen that type of thing happen with Kyle Shanahan, where like he tends to get focused on his star players and nobody really else. So should have we went somewhere else with this Chase Young trade? Was it kind of confusing to you?
A few weeks ago, I remember saying this was going to be a realistic trade. I remember saying that Montez Sweat and Chase Young would be more realistic trades than Danielle Hunter and Brian Burns, and a lot of other Niner fans were probably saying, "Dude, no way we're going to get this guy." And I said it wouldn't surprise me, and I even predicted we'll give up a third for this guy. And some people were saying, "Where are you getting all these reports from?" I'm getting it from other sources. And I said, this wouldn't surprise me. I am predicting we're giving up a third round for Chase Young, and we gave up a third round comp out of that trade. So I was pretty much on point a few weeks back, And honestly, to get Devontae Adams, that is a reach. This is not Madden, buddy. If we were going to get a wide receiver, it would be Hunter Renfrow because he would be cheaper. He plays the slot receiver. He is a guy you can use in different ways, exactly how we were supposed to use Trent Taylor that way. I would say that would have been the realistic trade was Hunter Renfrow. He would have been cheaper option. He would have been a nice receiver depth piece. Maybe he would have played more snaps than Jennings because he's a good slot receiver type guy. That would have been the guy I would have targeted than Adams, if I'm being honest.
That's a good one. And I mean, you mentioned, you're thinking outside of the box because, like, when I was doing a stream a few week ago or so, you were saying Marcus Peters, which I'd never thought of that name, but now that I'm thinking about it, that would have been amazing too to go
Veteran
and get.
presence.
Yeah, it really would have. I do think that the receiver position, it's like Ray McLeod, and then obviously you have Jawan. Sorry, Trent. Ronnie
Jawan
Bell.
Jennings. Oh, Ronnie
Well,
Bell.
Jawan
Okay.
Jennings, but also Ronnie Bell as well.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know, like Kyle Shanahan, like I said before, when he tends to, it tends to take him a few weeks to kind of adapt to the players that he has. Which maybe he just was getting used to life without Deebo Samuel. And maybe he didn't trust. I mean, the biggest thing with me that I think Kyle Shanahan does, like his issue is he just doesn't trust a lot of his players outside of Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and then I guess those, and Christian McCaffrey, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But I'd say that, like, at some point you kind of have to take those risks. Especially when you're trying to win, trying to get off of a losing streak. So
yeah, you got to build trust with him, and I was hoping they were going to use Ronnie Bell, but they didn't use him at all as much. I was kind of disappointed how Shanahan
we had like
couldn't.
4 catches in the Giants game too, right?
No, he had 3 total catches this season.
3.
He had 2 catches in the Giants.
Okay.
As far as Ray, it's kind of like he's good on certain occasion, but I would rather use it more on Ronnie Bell because I know with Ray he's returning kicks. Use Ray in certain package plays, but Jennings has kind of been like a go-to receiver if they give him some targets. But like you said, outside of the receivers we got, it's hard for Shanahan to trust those guys. But since you wanted to go with the receiver guy, I know there was maybe a very few Niners content creators who were on that same route as me when I kind of threw Hunter Renfrow in the conversation because I felt like if you want to fit into the system, you want to get a chain mover guy, a guy who would separate and actually run those best. Like he runs the China routes. He does all kinds of stuff. He's a mismatch. And the way how the Raiders were underutilizing him, he would have been a steal on this offense. He would have been exactly what we wanted Trent Taylor to be like.
And the other thing is, like, before we move on to the kind of the comments, I'll say that George Kittle, when in the past, I feel like when other people used to go out, used to like abuse him. But now it's almost, I feel like this season more than ever, starting to see the decline of how you can't really use him as much. I mean, he only had like 3-4 catches in the Bengals game. And I know that Bengals linebacker group, I talked to a guy last week, is really good, but I still just think that they're really more than ever this season trying to save him for the playoffs. So,
actually, in that
I don't go ahead.
Actually, in that Bengals game, he had one of his best performances by season by far.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the production, if you look at George Kittle's last game, I think he had over 149 yards. And
really, was it that much?
Yeah, look up the
Maybe
stats.
I'm tripping.
Nah, because he's kind of been underutilized. You're making a good
argument.
argument.
Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. I am sorely wrong. Wow. No, I mean, maybe I was talking about last game.
The other last game, he probably wasn't much of a. I mean, Minnesota, he kind of played okay, not so much. But in the other previous games, he's kind of been a non-factor. But outside of this game against the Jags, this was probably his best game since the Giants game. So, yeah, he's never like in the previous years, we've always tried to find ways to get Kittle involved. But like you said, just not much production for quite some time because he's kind of been more as a blocker than he is as a receiving tight end. It's because maybe they don't trust the tackles as much on the blocking assignments, and they've been trying to use Kittle as another like what is it, like a 6 tackle guy to help out a little bit.
Yep. I don't know. When I was watching that game, he didn't seem as much of a force as he has in the past. But now that I think, 9 catches is quite a bit. But let's get to the a little bit more of the comments. Daniel Barry, Sports Highlights. I think he's a first on the show, so shout out to him. He says, "Hey," so thank you for hopping in. Crazy Juice. I think these are all on your channel. Says Sup CG. Randy Daytona says, let's go. CarCast 49ers talk next week is going to be tough for the 49ers. Jags on the rise. T-Law, Calvin Ridley, ETN, Christian Kirk, a scary amount of weapons. Our secondary needs to hold up.
Yeah, he hasn't learned about it. Like, as far as Jaguars, their offense is very explosive in some ways. Like, Travis Etienne is kind of like if you're thinking Christian McCaffrey's like the best all-around talent, Travis Etienne isn't too far off. Like, he's actually really good. Like, you look at Christian Kirk, he is kind of like he's kind of more of a possession type receiver, but kind of gives you the big plays, kind of like how Deebo Samuel looks like. But this kid's up and coming. Calvin Ridley, I thought that was a steal for the Jags to get this guy coming off. It was. But T-Law, he's kind of been improving ever since Doug Patterson's the head coach. And the only thing you might be concerned about the Jaguars is their offensive line. But I've seen Lawrence throw the ball pretty quickly, so we might have to find better ways to adjust and try to get to him.
Right. Let's actually segue to, I guess, some of the keys you mentioned you mentioned a few keys there, but I'd say the other guy who, Josh Allen, I'm pretty sure he's playing in this game. That's going to be really huge matching up against Trent Williams coming back from an injury. He is probably going to play. And so I think he would, because he was questionable last week, didn't go. And then now he's a bye week to kind of get healthy. You saw with the Chiefs, a lot of guys last year were coming back from injury, and we got mollywopped by the Chiefs last year because a lot of guys were kind of out of shape. They were trying to get their legs under him. That could be another one of those games where we have guys coming back from injury. We're a little sloppy to start. I think in the second half, we'll definitely get going a little bit more, but to start, Trent Williams versus Josh Allen is going to be a tough matchup, although anyone is better than what we've had. Jalen Moore, all power to you, but you have not been you've been garbage the last few weeks. Let me just say that.
I mean, as a run blocker, not so well.
No. I don't even think as a pass blocker, the pressure on Brock Purdy every time he drops back. I mean, remember going back to that Bengals game, and it was like, every time he dropped back, there was almost always Trey Hendrickson in his face. And so, I mean, I guess Trey Hendrickson at this point in time is better than Josh Allen, but look for the Jaguars defense to keep dialing up pressure. Although I do think that the Jaguars defense is, if you look at their season stats, it's worse than the Bengals defense. So you could maybe be able to run the ball a little bit better on them, but I still think it's really going to be up to how they pass protect and Brock Purdy, something that hasn't been in the, we've all said, he's not playing very well, but I do think that him kind of having that mini concussion maybe had to do with his struggles last game. And so now that he has 2 weeks to kind of look at the film, get his legs under him, I think he'll play a lot better. So,
yeah, like Brock Purdy's going through the mental stage of playing through growing pains, like most young quarterbacks. I mean,
right.
Last year was just crazy that he didn't even have this amount of rookie mistakes going into the first year of his season. But now he's technically still in a rookie year, if you think about it, because the amount of starts he's played. I think he's played an entire 16 or 17 games under his belt. And with this amount of experience, he's got a track record of winning, but the last 3 games it's been losing. Can you blame him for the losses? Like you said, maybe the concussion could be the factor to what happened, but you look at the entire what could have happened. If Jake Moody made the kick, we would beat Cleveland easily.
Right.
If Steve Wilkes would have did a better job on the defensive situation that we were doing, maybe it would have been a different ball game. Just a lot of those stuff, it happens. But Cincinnati, it was a tough situation. And maybe the hit from Brock Purdy was pretty much the factor, but man, he was in good position to put us in position to win, but just a couple of critical mistakes is what cost us against the Bengals. Like, he was moving us down the field. It's just our defense wasn't holding up, if I'm being honest.
Well, and I think that the Jaguars currently are ranked like not even top 20 in their offense. And so now that we have Dre Greenlaw a little bit healthier than he has been, and I think Wilkes knows, I feel like they need to bring more pressure. and the Jaguars' offensive line has not been very good this year. So that's another key matchup that could be a bad matchup for the Jaguars, especially with obviously Chase Young making his debut.
They acquired
I mean,
Ezra
that's going to be a
Cleveland.
bad matchup for them. So
Yeah, the Jags actually addressed a guard or a tackle, Ezra Cleveland. So
Cleveland, yeah,
maybe that might fix the issue a little bit. We'll see. But yeah, I'm intrigued by this debut of Chase Young. I mean, I want to see how much of an
yeah,
impact. Like we saw what Randy Gregory was capable of doing on his first impact with us, but man, think about this depth chart. Like, it's insane. Like, how did the Niners
yeah,
pull off this type of trade? This doesn't happen in Madden. Like, you can't even give up a third round for that type of move like that. But I know a few weeks ago there was a lot of these content creators saying there's no way we're gonna get Chase Young. And I said I predict a third round out of this trade. And people thought I was crazy and on some I don't know. I just had a gut feeling we were gonna get this guy. Because
yeah,
something
go ahead.
Yeah, because something to do with his injury history and the fact that if Commanders were to lose, that was going to definitely open the door for us to
Right.
make the move. And it was only going to take a third round because I saw what his trade value was. And I said in my prediction, I actually wanted Montez Sweat because of his durability, but then I saw what can possibly happen. And I
Yeah,
said Commanders usually take flyers on these type of guys, so I can see Chase Young as that
yeah.
realistic guy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely going to be interesting to see and how fast, Trevor Lawrence gets it out of his hands. If you're the 49ers, try to play press man to man and hopefully the defensive line gets home before Isaiah Oliver gives up a big play. The one thing, though, is interesting. I would like to see if Zay Jones is playing in this game, receiver for the Jags, because he's been not healthy most of the year. I think he's questionable. So if he's playing, that's going to be a huge slot receiver. I could check. That's going to be a huge slot receiver to check on, because that Zay Jones, when he has played for the Jaguars, has been very, very talented for them, but he just hasn't played a lot. So
I'll check it out. Let me see.
yeah, actually, because that's a really big key. Obviously, Christian Kirk is too, but
it says Zay Jones is day to day
day,
IR,
yeah.
and it says something about. It says, let's see
At
if
least we can't. I mean, hey, Robert, while he's looking that up, Roberta Hastings, at least we can't lose to the bye. We actually, in my opinion, won the bye because the Seahawks got absolutely trounced.
yeah.
And so now we're back atop the division. So I definitely think we won it for sure. Now, it doesn't help that the Eagles won as well. I did not want that to happen, but the Eagles are about to hit a really tough stretch of games, and so I don't think we're out of the 1 seed by any means right now. So,
Well, there's just been questions that he hasn't, like the knee has been an issue with him, so it could. They're trying to
Zay Jones,
practice
yeah.
him, but there's a possibility it can be a more setback on him. But if he plays, he plays. It probably won't be much of a factor, like limited actions or something.
That's good. That's good. Before we move on to some of the other topics, your quick final score prediction for this next week. I honestly think the 49ers will win. They can't lose 4 straight. I think it's going to be a really, really close game, though, like it is when, injury guys are coming back from injuries. But I think off of the bye, it's not like it's a super weather game because it is in Florida. So I think it's going to be, close one. I don't think the 49ers get to 30. I think it's going to be 24-23.
Ooh, I like that scoreboard actually. Not bad.
Yeah.
I think this is the kind of game where we get a get right game. You may be surprised, but I think we're coming at a good timing. And I think Jacksonville, don't get me wrong, they're a very good football team, but like you just said about their defense, it could be worse than the Bengals. Something just tells me we're going to actually have a really good performance. Like, I think we're going to be able to wake up and come back to the way we were playing. So I'm not trying to sound cocky or arrogant, but I just feel like this is going to be coming back to the Niners that started off the first 5 weeks of the season. Something just tells me differently. I'm going to just say 31 to 17, I think, because I think what can factor us is it's going to be a close game in the beginning until the second half, which we don't give up the most points out of anybody else. like second half, we always give up the least points, and I think this is where we definitely finish the game. And McCaffrey has one of his best games, and plus we'd be able to expose some of their run defense.
Yeah.
Some of their secondaries are going to have some costly penalties. Something just tells me the Jaguars are just going to be a little undisciplined, and then Trevor Lawrence isn't going to have enough time to throw the ball like he was. I mean, he's going to have a good production, like good numbers, but it's probably going to be like a lot of him trying to run for his life a little bit. And I think we're going to be able to get to the guy. So I say it would be like a 31-17 type game. It'll be the opposite scoreboard of what we had with the Bengals, but it'll be us with 31 points.
That's optimistic. You did hit a good point with the run game, because that is a big issue for the Jaguars. They're not good at that at all. So
and with Trent Williams back, it's going to open the holes more.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
for
got to
sure.
think of it.
And,
Think of the
again,
difference.
well, and again, they're not good up the middle. Now they do have Trayvon Walker, who he is actually hasn't played great this year. He has
He's been a good
PFF
run.
doesn't say everything, but 57.4 PFF grade is not great. So.
Yeah, that's where we're going to expose him most. And Trent Williams coming back, which I believe he is coming back. That's just going to make our offense back to what it was. And then I think Chase Young just creating pressure on Trevor Lawrence is going to be a huge factor. Like, if you look at the last 3 weeks, our defense has been like just giving these offense more time of possession. That's why we haven't been scoring as much as we did. So it's going to change. And I think the running game is going to be the huge factor. And like you just said about Jaguars defense, like it can be a little suspect.
Yeah.
They got a good record because they got a good team, but I think.
Well, they also haven't played a ton of elite defenses this year. They played the Saints. I think really the only other team that they played that was like super elite, not defenses, offenses, were the Chiefs, like week 1 or 2. So
yeah, Chiefs,
this
but
is definitely the biggest test.
Yeah, the Texans gave them a problem. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from. So they haven't really played a good team. It's kind of like playing like the Dolphins. Like, who do the Dolphins beat? That's all the question we all want to know too. And then you look at the Cowboys, who they play, but everybody keep questioning who we play. Yeah,
the only other team that the Jaguars have beaten is the Bills, but the Bills are so inconsistent at this point.
Yeah, and
I
it was
wouldn't
in
consider them
London.
a good team.
They play good. Like Jags play good in London.
Yeah, yeah. Let's get to the next. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the Falcons are a little inconsistent too. So it's like,
yeah. Crazy Juice says, "Is Aaron Banks going to be out for this game?"
Yeah,
that's a good question. He is or no?
He's going to be out a few weeks with a turf toe. So he had a turf.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he had a turf toe injury, which would probably take him a few weeks to recover. But we got John Feliciano, who should be able to line up at that spot and fill in that role for him. So that's the injury I'm hearing about. But the good news is it shouldn't be an issue for him to miss the season. It'll probably be a few weeks.
Turf toe, though, you have to be careful because that's an injury that can linger. So moving on, though, Jalen Johnson, 49ers and Bills were in talks with him. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts. Like, obviously there was a price tag that the Bears were not willing to go below. How much do you think it was? I mean, there's been different price tags that corners have gone for in the past. Maybe the Bears were kind of comparing, okay, if Jalen Johnson is this and this good, then we're not going to go below this and this number of picks, So how much do you think the 49ers were willing to offer, and how much do you think the Bears were willing to give up for? Well, like, how much do you think the Bills were willing to take before they traded Jalen Johnson?
Well, Jalen Johnson's market value could have, like, at the time before he had his 2 interception performance, I think he had easily a 3rd to a 2nd round value.
Yeah.
But I think at the time, once he had his breakout game against the Raiders, the price just went up a little bit. Then the Bears just thought, like, maybe we can work out a deal. But I think the Niners were probably willing to go with I don't think they wanted to give up a 1st round. I think the highest that the Niners were willing to give up for was either a 3rd or a 2nd round. But I think the Bears were asking too much. They were either asking for a 1st round pick. And I think the Buffalo Bills, I think they were trying to make that effort too. But it came down to the Bears just wanting a little bit too much. I would have just taken the 2nd round pick if I was the Chicago Bears, because you got Montez Sweat. You could have got your 2nd round pick back, and maybe you would have got yourself a cornerback in the draft. But Now it's going to be an issue because now that the Bears are trying to work out a deal with Jalen Johnson, I would suggest a franchise tag would not be a great idea because that's going to create a distraction. Jalen's going to want top dollars. I think he was looking in the market with maybe 18 to 19 million per year at the position, which is too much for a guy who barely does. I mean, he has good coverage skills, but he doesn't get opportunities to get the interception.
Right. I would say, the Bears, obviously them getting, as soon as they got Josh Sweat, I was like, they're probably not going to be sellers at the deadline. This is probably one of the key cornerstone players that you want to give away. The only thing is, like, compared to the market, you have Rasul Douglas, who, I mean, he went for very low. Wasn't it like Rasul Douglas and a fifth in exchange for a third or something like that? So it's something
It was like a
not a
swap.
lot. But the thing is like, I just don't think the Bears, I think they were listening to calls because they were like, maybe someone's going to wow us. But the fact that they traded for Josh Sweat and then we're going to flip another one of their good players just seemed to me that, like, it was never going to happen. I don't think the Chase Young trade was the 49ers, number one option. I think they looked around the league. They tried to go after Jalen Johnson. And then once they knew they couldn't get him, they're going to go after the next best thing.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to trade for a cornerback, it's like, I was a week ago giving up possible trade scenarios, and there was this guy for the Panthers. His name escapes me at the time right now, but he wasn't really much better than what Isaiah Oliver is. So, like, I think the 49ers, Dante Jackson.
Oh yeah, I like him. But before
I think if the 49ers were going to trade for a corner, it would have had to be somebody really good. And so
and he was familiar with Steve Wilkes' defense. But since you were talking about that trade, that's not Josh Sweat, it's Montez Sweat. Sweat was from the Commanders. I mean, Montez Sweat was there.
Sweat is for the Eagles. Yeah.
John Sweat is from the Eagles, but Montez Sweat's got speed rush. I think I was willing to get that guy too, but then I started thinking realistically it was going to be Chase Young more than him.
He's more D tackle, so like that would conflict with Javon Hargrave. I don't.
No, actually, Montez Sweat is a DN.
DN for real?
He's a speed rusher.
Okay.
He's about he's about 6'5". I think he's about like a 260 something pounds. Runs a 4.44 type of speed. Very fast rusher coming into the draft, which I wanted back then from Mississippi State. But yeah, that dude's a beast. But like you were talking about, like Dante Jackson, when you look at system scheme wise, he would have fit into Steve Wilkes' defense. Oliver's just kind of been like a disappointment. Like, he can tackle, don't get me wrong, but coverage, I don't know. The guy's just out of place.
Right. Moving on. The Eagles. Hold on, we got a comment. Raphael. I can't pronounce that last name, but he said salute CG. Yeah. I don't speak Spanish. I'm assuming that's what it is. So I'm not gonna try. I would butcher it.
My Venezuela guy. Yeah, salute.
So let's move on. Are the Eagles really 2 games better than the 49ers after what we saw yesterday? They barely escaped the Cowboys game, played well in the first half, then in the second half just did not. I mean, the third quarter was good. Fourth quarter wasn't good. Are they really 2 games better? Again, the 49ers aren't out of it because, I mean, the Eagles' next few games is going to be really tough. They obviously play the 49ers at the end of November, or I think it's beginning of December. And so the 49ers, they just have to win and hope that the Eagles at least lose 1 game, and then they can get back
and then beat them too. But if you're going by the record, wise, it's pretty obvious. But if you're going by the performance, it's a little concerning. I think maybe the NFC could be wide open for the number 1 seed, but as far as the Eagles, they just find ways to win ball games. So it's like, I just want to see how they perform, like, against us. Maybe we can redeem ourselves. But as of right now, the Eagles are just pretty much the better team. Like, I mean, they only lost to the Jets, which those are the kind of games that slip out a little bit. But I haven't seen another game that they slipped out on. So it's kind of hard for me to pick against them when they actually have the best record right now. It doesn't matter how you win ball games. You can win ugly. You can win a dominant fashion. I don't care if Jalen Hurts throws 7 picks as long as the guy wins the football game. At least he's going gutsy. But it's just a metaphor the way I'm saying it. But
I will say, though, that the Vikings last year, they were winning a lot of these games by one score, and then they played a good team, and then they would lose. So I will say that if they have the Eagles have the Chiefs and Bills coming up. The thing is like I feel like they would beat the Bills, but it is in Buffalo. No, actually, it's in Philly. But the next game's in Arrowhead at the Chiefs. So that's gonna be tough. I would say though that like even if they lose to the Chiefs, the 49ers, their schedule is not super easy either. So I don't know.
We got Baltimore coming up after that too. So it's like Christmas.
Yeah.
We got Baltimore. They're just steamrolling opponents right now, like the NFC. So
Baltimore's looking really good. Yeah, and their run game, Gus Edwards doing really well, and then they have another running back.
Ethan Mitchell, that guy's
yeah.
He's got speed. He kind of looks like another Raheem Mostert. Like this dude got some speed. Yeah. Hey, what's up,
Well, their offense. Oh yeah, Bay Area Throwback says what's good. Their offense too for the Ravens, it's like the Greg Roman, them getting him out of there and then replacing him from an offensive coordinator from Georgia, I believe, the ex offensive coordinator from Georgia. They brought him over. What?
I think his name is Monkins, right?
Yeah, Monken. Yeah, Todd Monken. But they brought him over, and their offense this year has looked completely different. So that was 100% the fix.
Yeah.
And really, the whole key to it is Lamar Jackson. If he can stay healthy, he's an MVP candidate. So yeah, that's going to be tough for sure. The only thing is like, go ahead.
Yeah, like he's got weapons and all that stuff this year. The receivers are not that bad.
Right. And the only thing is like, okay, going back to the Niners, right? If you get the second seed, who's to say that you make it back to the NFC Championship game? Because you're maybe even playing the Lions in the second round of the playoffs, most likely, or maybe. And that's, I don't want to, I mean, the Lions defense isn't great, but their offense, I feel like would absolutely cook our defense. So
it would be a tough matchup overall. But like you said, if we can get the number 2 seed, it's not the end of the world. It can really be. I've seen a number 1 seed team actually lose in a playoff game where they should have won. But
I mean, if you get the number 1 seed, you're playing a 4 seed, which like right now as it stands is like what the Saints or the Buccaneers, like that whole division looks terrible.
Saints and Buccaneers, it seems very suspect. But I want to say this. I think New Orleans is I think Atlanta is like a team that everybody's sleeping on, but I was thinking that New Orleans can sneak in. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Saints get it together. Atlanta's kind of been like Atlanta's kind of like that fairy tales team this season. Like it's like they don't have a quarterback, but they're actually finding ways to win games and they're running the ball and their play callers just kind of it's unpredictable, but they're winning football games.
Hey, if Arthur Smith, I heard he shaved his mustache, so maybe that's the fix. I saw that on Twitter.
That guy looks funny, man. Like I'm looking at this coach, I'm saying, does this guy look old enough to be a 50-year-old type of a janitor or something?
Have you ever watched? I saw a comparison a few weeks ago, and it said he looks like Horton Hears a Who. The movie Horton Hears a Who. He looks like Horton, or it was some character from that movie. Have you seen that? It's a kids movie.
Oh, I've seen it a long time ago. Yeah, that one guy with the mustache, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if he looks like Horton the elephant or if he looks. It was some character in there, and when I saw the comparison, I was like, "That's exactly what it is." But I can't remember the name at the time.
So. Nah, but Arthur Smith looks like one of those police chiefs with the freaking mustache right here. Like like those police, like those police people that have the mustache. He looks like one of them cops.
Yeah. Prototypical. Like Grandizer coming.
Yeah.
Grandizer, big Dolphins fan. I had a Patriots content creator on a few weeks ago, and Grandizer was going, since he's a Dolphins fan, he had a huge rivalry with this Patriots guy that I had on the other few weeks ago, and I had to kind of like I was like, I don't know if I should like remove some of his comments, but like I didn't do anything. But it was kind of funny to see him and the Patriots guy go at it in the comments after the live stream was over. But Grandizer says, "Hey, it's Ben and CG. Do the 49ers have enough corners? Should be the question, right? You both brought this up 3 weeks ago. I honestly, we already covered that, but I don't think so. I guess we got Womack back. I saw we activated him. That I don't know how much of a difference that will make, but
Yeah, I think when we get Womack and I think Luter is somebody that we're very high on. So it's like Luter is like a 6'1" cornerback. He's got nice links at the position. I've heard a lot of good things about Samuel Womack from last preseason. I heard that he could actually fix the nickel spot, which that's where we're gonna have him play at. But it's kind of hard to take a spot off of Oliver. But I think if I'm the coach staff, I would try to find a way to get Womack into that lineup at least. Maybe that will fix the problem. But one thing that we've been struggling lately is the tackling. So tackling's been the issue. Maybe with Dre Greenlaw getting back to healthy for once, maybe we won't miss as much tackles this time.
he's been probably the MVP of the defense, I'd say. His energy past the line of scrimmage, I mean, is like just really great to see when he is healthy. And I saw a stat the other day, Isaiah Oliver, it was like something crazy, like he's almost given up every single catch that has been targeted towards him.
Yeah, Oliver's just like
So
kind of like he's the kind of cornerback that just kind of has
he's a
bad
decent
vision.
tackler, but
He's a good
not a
tackler,
good coverage
but he's
guy.
like this kind of guy in coverage. He says, "Oh shoot, the damn sunlight! Oh, where'd he go? Where'd he go?" And he
Yeah.
gives it
I
like,
mean, I saw that coming because against the Raiders in our preseason game, he was giving up catches to third stringers who I didn't even know the name of. That's how bad he was. So
yeah. And then I guess Veteran says he agrees with the Greg and ham one. you know,
wait, where?
I think he's talking about how you were talking about that Patriots fan, but
Oh
there's
yeah,
really
that guy was delusional. I was not rude. I was like, what is he
yeah,
watching?
yeah.
I don't think
There
he
is
was that delusional. The thing is that Patriots guy was roasting his own team. He said the Patriots sucked, which I fully agree with. So I don't know
oh
how
yeah,
he was delusional, but
I guess it's okay for some, but I remember Grandizer
no,
was talking.
you weren't really rude, Grandizer. I was just it was funny to see you guys go back and forth.
I've seen some stuff where Grandizer kind of has his moments sometimes, but it's kind of funny. Like he had this one moment with a Rams fan, like this guy that I had on my show. He called that guy a prick because he didn't understood. He misunderstood what he was saying, and I think I told
Yeah.
I told the Rams guy about it, and then he kind of just felt bad about it because he didn't know what he was talking about. And I explained
Yeah,
everything.
are you talking about Payo time?
No, it's another Rams
No,
guy.
okay.
He doesn't like him. It's Ramsaholic. He called him a prick. But yeah. But he
Well,
doesn't like
good times.
TD. Yeah, he doesn't like TD Finn. That's that's one Dolphins fan he does not like the most, but he's a good dude.
Yeah. Shout out Grandizer, regular on the show. So,
Yeah,
thanks
he's
for
funny.
supporting the channel each and every week. Is it
Well,
evident that the 49ers drafted tackle next year in the first round? And would it make sense to trade Debo as well? This is kind of a topic that I was
ooh,
like thinking about. I was talking to my brother and I was like, is this kind of a real thing? Because Trent Williams, I mean, the
he's
fate of
getting
the
up.
49ers, I would agree, is on a 36-year-old who now
Yeah,
for 2 years in a row does not stay healthy a full season. And
I
without
think.
him, we have no depth without
Yeah,
Brunskill as well. So
I mean, I think I think in this next year's draft, I think we need to get a tackle. I don't care what round we get them. I would rather get 2 tackles in the draft.
yeah,
Build
that's
around,
smart.
just like how Seattle did it. You know how Seattle got 2 of those other tackles, and they're both starters. So even though they got what's his name Cross and Abraham playing on the other side, that's a good way to build your offensive line. So I think for the future we're gonna have to prepare for without Trent Williams at some point. But yeah, I think trade wise, I don't know, trading Debo for what assets? I mean, it would be hard to
His
replace
stock
him.
is pretty low.
It's just, I think even if we were to trade him, how are we going to replace the guy's production? He fits exactly how we run our offense, but I think he's only good for another year or two, and then maybe we move on. But I think Ayuk is the guy we need to extend.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's the most consistent. I mean, he might not make a huge difference in some games, but, Debo hasn't had the greatest year. And so The reason why I say that is like even if you could get like what a second, I feel like he would go for Debo. A lot of
Which that's
teams,
his
I mean,
original round, yeah.
yeah, and the thing is like the Falcons too. I mean, Arthur Smith, give him to him. That's definitely so many coaches want to coach Debo. The only thing is like, can you find is there? And I haven't really looked into the receiving class. Can you find a guy in next year's receiving, class that matches that production? Or maybe you trade or you get a guy in free agency that is similar to that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you
I
try
mean,
and
there's
go and trade for Devonta Adams. So
Davante Adams is too much money. He's more of a legit number
yeah,
one
but
receiver.
but the thing is like if you get rid of Debo's contract, then you could probably afford it. So
But do you really think the Raiders are going to give us that guy? That would be dumb on their part. I don't know. Like,
probably not.
but if you want, like, okay, since we're going
But
into the,
maybe he requests a trade. I mean, that Raiders team
yeah,
is a
it would
crap
be,
show.
it would have to be an offer they can't say no
No
to.
to.
But if you're looking for a receiver that can replace him, like replace Debo at some point, there's a couple of players who probably haven't been utilized the right way. I mean, I believe Carolina Panthers have this guy Laviska Shenault. He's got that kind of skill set that you can use him as like that type of Debo type player. Um, there's another guy that I checked out, and I'll tell you what, the way Tennessee's using him, he's not fitting into their offense. Like this guy can
Treylon
be.
Burks.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the kind of guy I would try to make a
Yeah.
trade for, if I'm honest, because I see potential, and that's exactly how they're just not using them right.
Right, and the system, like he even said, he compares himself to Debo Samuel when he was coming out of the draft, and you look at that system, it's like it's not at all what I mean. I think for the Titans, they need a change at coach. It's just the way the offense is run is not very good, and so maybe if Vrabel gets fired next year, then maybe they bring in a new coach who wants to keep Burks. But that's a great name. I actually that now that you mention it, that's really great name.
That's exactly a guy you can use in that similar offense like we do with Debo. And I think how many picks we got? I think we have about like 10 picks, I believe, because we gave up that pick for Chase Young. But yeah,
10. Yeah. At least we have a first.
I would try to invest a tackle. Like that would be
Yeah.
my first investment because I want to make sure if Brock Purdy's my guy, I want to make sure he's protected. And if he's not the starter, at least get him prepared to replace Trent Williams. Or if you don't feel confident with McKivitz at the near future, try to plug that kid over there or something.
Which I think McKivitz actually is improving as the weeks are going on. He hasn't been like as bad, and I feel like he's better than what McGlinchey was in pass protection at least. I don't think run protection wise, he's not great, but pass protection, I think he is better. I will say that like when is it time for the 49ers to finally just say, okay, this is the draft where we're just going to draft like tons of offensive linemen because we need it. I mean, Burford, but then again, it's like this year, I feel like the 49ers were like, we have a bunch of young guys. Let's see if the development that we're giving them is going to work out. And maybe this is the year that they finally realize, these guys aren't really developing the way we want them to. So I don't think Burford and McKivitz have been bad, but.
I mean,
when is it time to realize that Brock Purdy is, Drew Brees? Later on in his career, he had one of the best offensive lines.
I was reaching
that. No. I'm not gonna say he like is Drew
Brees,
but I'm gonna say, if you want a guy who, when he throws downfield, he needs time. So if you want a guy like that, it's like you need a really good offensive line. All the, Jared Goff, for example, Lions offensive line is really deep, really good.
They're good.
So I just think,
yeah, I get where you're coming from. Like, I think once we start establishing protecting our quarterback, that would be the main key. I think if we were to, like you said, McKivitz is not that bad, but he's kind of been giving up a lot of pressures and some sacks here and there. But it's not as bad as McGlinchey, so we can agree on that part. I think the Niners just need to stop giving these jobs to those other guys. Let them compete. I don't care if it's a rookie or not.
Right.
I want it to be the guy who deserves the starting spot. Like, why are we going to hand a job to somebody like McKivitz and other guys? Yeah, you've been around our system, but at least compete. I want competition to make everybody better.
Right. And if you draft a really good tackle and you have McKivitz as a backup, that's a quality backup right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
Before we get out of here, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think he would have been happy to be on the roster anyway. So
I got passionate about that topic. It's frustrating for sure.
yeah, it is.
So, before we get out of here, let's answer these last two questions and then we'll get out of here. When the 49ers took a flyer out on Joey Fisher, he was projected 5th rounder. He didn't pan out. It happens. Have to try at least. Yeah, he was a guy that I liked, but I mean, D2 school guy. Now his quarterback, Tyson Badgett, is right now starting for the Bears. So yeah. CG TD Finn's talk was anti-Tua when they drafted him in 2020. He didn't take the let's see how Tua plays before we start passing judgment. Have to give every play a chance.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, I think with McKivitz, you got to give him some time to develop, but he's already getting more opportunities. And Burford, I'm trying to give him the benefit of doubt because I don't want to sound biased, but he's a friend of the show, so I don't want to make it sound like. But he needs to work on getting better a little bit. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I'm not going to give him the Jake Brendel treatment. I'm not going to do that because if I interact with this guy and then we talk from time to time, I'm not going to bash him because players just take it a little too sensitive. So I don't want to sound like I was being harsh on a guy. But if he works better as a pass blocker, I think he'll get better in time.
Hopefully, well, I'm not saying he's like the problem. I think him and, like you said, McKivitz are both really young. And I honestly think they've both improved for sure. It's just, but it's also like how much like they were like McKivitz was 5th round, Burford was 4th round. It's like for where they were drafted, they're actually doing pretty good. Like I feel like our expectations of those guys are a little too high, but you've also got to remember where they were drafted and what schools they came from. I mean, Burford came from UTSA, which isn't like a huge offensive line school. Same with, West Virginia, which is where McKivitz, I believe, came from.
Yeah,
it's like none of those schools are huge. So,
yeah. UTSA is just not known. It's not quite a known college yet, but it's kind of like, like you said. But
anyways, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Go check out CG Ruthless on Twitter, YouTube. Promote yourself real quick, and I will say that I forgot to mention that at the beginning, but guys, he does a lot of cool player interviews of different. You're constantly trying to get guys on your show with different. From time to time, I see interviews from different NFL players around the league. So promote yourself a little bit, and then we'll get out of here.
Oh yeah. Appreciate it, bro. Thanks for reaching out. And yeah, you're good. You're very knowledgeable, and and what a better time to come back and do a stream with somebody that I enjoy having fun with the off season.
Thank you.
For those people who want to check out the platform I do, CG Ruthless, you see a lot of my interviews. There's quite a few interviews I do. So I recently just had Keith Lewis on the phone, which he had some issues with his reception, but I had him on my show with Danielle. I do have another channel where I do get wrestlers on my show. So I do kind of work on different content. I do it separately. I try to keep it non-football on that one because I like wrestling, but most of where I do my platform is either on TikTok, where I got a good amount of followers out there. And for those people who are into TikTok, I'm telling you, it's a lot fun. But YouTube, I enjoy the vibe. I enjoy the community. And thank you for the invite. Thank you for putting me on the show, bro. It's been a blast. I'm looking forward to many more, man, my guy.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. Guys, if I do have one ex-football player. He also was what is it called? I guess he was a power lifter back in the day, played for the Oilers. I need to still text him, but I got it. He was at a conference or whatever, and he's a football player. His name is Jeff Neal. And so played for the Oilers back in the 90s, but I'm hoping to get him on my show as well. So stay tuned for that. That could be something that I do. What?
I'll check it out, man. Just let me know what time, or I'll check it on one of your little streams. I'll definitely pop in. But yeah,
So,
Grant, you know how it is when I rant and do stuff. I just do it for the passion. But I think everybody enjoys that part. I gotta go with it. You know, if it frustrates me, I think frustration with the rage, it's the best therapy. I'll tell you what.
right.
I rather express it because now I feel better. Yeah.
Well, anyways, guys, I'll keep you posted. You know, the once a week 49ers shows should be a regular on my show, so I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll probably be posting a few NFL shows as the week goes on. So we'll see you guys later. I'll be posting show clips from this show as well. We'll see you guys later, and have a good rest of your evening, everyone. Go
Salute.
Niners.